Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
Great information on real estate for senior buyers and sellers from senior real estate specialist Debbie Fischer as she shares great tips with Helping Seniors TV host Joe Steckler.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, and welcome to another edition of Helping Seniors. My guest today is Debbie Fischer, and Debbie is going to talk to us about the importance of realtors, and I can look at my cheat sheet.
55 plus specialist.
55 plus specialist.
Yes.
But I know something that the viewer doesn't know, and what I know makes you especially qualified to do what you're doing that we're going to talk about today because, folks, Debbie has a vast experience in senior care itself. She has been a director of an assisted living facility. She knows what is needed in the assisted living facility. So I would imagine, Debbie, that one of the reasons, and I'm going to ask you why you started this realty group in the first place, but I imagine a lot of that had to do with the fact that what you observed.
Absolutely, that's exactly
how about telling our viewers about this is what's important. People need to know a little bit about your background and why you're doing what you're doing, so that they can join with us as we talk about it.
Well, I've been serving the senior community in Brevard since 2003. Prior to starting my company, I was an executive director for senior living care, both in assisted living and nursing home and rehab. And I kept seeing a recurring theme with family members or adult children, loved ones, where it came a time maybe they thought they were in rehab and maybe going to go home, or they would come to an assisted living and they would want to move mom and dad in or them move themselves in, and they would discover they didn't know where to begin. They didn't know where to look. What do I need to do? Do I need to sell things? What type of facilities are even out there? Because most people aren't even aware of different levels of care and assisted livings and small group homes and large facilities and ones that can help you through your entire.
Right.
And people don't realize that, so they think home or nursing home, and they don't realize there is this entire fabulous world out there of places to live that they're not aware of. So that's actually why I actually started the company, because I just felt there was a void in the industry to really understand the options for seniors, to really understand the right questions to be asking, because sometimes I would discover maybe they don't really even need to leave their home. Maybe with some home modifications, maybe some home health, things like that, they could actually stay in their home.
Well, let me ask a question based on what you're talking about. When I made a comment about you knowing about what seniors needed, I think I want you to talk still a little bit more about why you started it, but in conjunction with what we're going to talk about, why you started this thing. Maybe if people understand what you call a senior real estate specialist, and that's somebody that helps the 55 plus community.
Absolutely.
But what exactly do you do? Do you sell real estate, or do you help people get into the right living things?
I actually work with the buyers and sellers, but it goes beyond that. I look at what their needs are. What are we really talking about?
Okay.
Are we talking about, we're just looking at, I call it right sizing, not downsizing, because sometimes you just need to look at what rooms in the house you actually go to. Sometimes you think you need this big house and you start thinking about, well, how many rooms do I actually visit? And then you realize maybe I don't need all the space that I'm currently living in, and it's time to right size or downsize. Sometimes with the 55 plus market, what a senior real estate specialist is It's someone, it goes above and beyond the real estate training and then my broker training. It's actually additional training to work with the 55 plus clientele. And you learn things about Medicare, Medicaid. How should you have your house titled when you go to sell it? Are you going to be using or even know about VA aid and attendance, something like that, for moving into an assisted living?
Well, you mentioned a magic word.
Mm-hmm.
Many viewers and probably thousands of veterans will see this show.
Mm-hmm.
What is VA aid and attendance?
VA aid and attendance is a program for veterans that were listed, they were in during active duty. That doesn't mean you have to be overseas. During your time, you could have been still in the States, but if it was during a time of active war, even one day, you are eligible for this service. And what makes it wonderful is you can use the service for help at home, but it also is a great help for the maximum benefits if you're moving into an assisted living.
And I call it mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that a real estate specialist for seniors would know more about the programs that you just mentioned, like VA aid and attendance, the what is it, disability assistance, which is something like $400 or $500 a month. But there are a lot of senior programs out there that can help put together a. I'll have to use the word continuum of care because that's really what it is.
Absolutely.
And so you, by virtue of the fact that you watched people come to an assisted living facility or a nursing home, you saw people that if you got them into a smaller unit or different type of a condo type living, that they might be able to exist there instead of going into an elevated level of care.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of modification, and maybe you need someone just to come in the evening, help with bathing, maybe helping with meals, just simple things, but the rest you're okay with. And if that's the kind of help we can get so you can stay at home, well, that's absolutely what I would recommend. But then at some point, maybe you need additional care and it's time to move to an assisted living.
Okay. We just met a couple that had a huge home. And they were, imagine this, going from roughly an 8,000 square foot home to a 1,200 foot home. And having to get rid of all these things that have been in our possession for years and years and years. And I can think of, this is probably, and my wife and I are in that stage in our life now that we're trying to decide whether we should stay where we are. We can no longer take care of that home the way we used to. But do you want to go through the agony of trying to move and get rid of all the stuff and put what you want back up? Members of the family volunteer to come help, but it's not the same.
And that's actually why I work. I have an entire resource of a professional network that really is senior friendly, great reputation, and they can help with things like estate planning, packing and sorting. Maybe there's things that you want your kids to get. They can help with that, organize some important papers that you need. They can even measure specific furniture that maybe you want to bring to your new home, draw out a floor plan so we know what's going to fit in your new home. So all those kind of questions kind of help.
But do you do that, or do you have
I have people that I work with that will do those things, and that's where when someone calls me to help with either buying or selling, they get more than just myself, because I do have this entire network that I work with that they can pick and choose which services they need. Most of them are all free consultations, so they may discover after speaking with them they don't even need their services, but they're available. And people don't even realize those services are out there for them to help.
Before the show, I was telling you about a new service that Helping Seniors is going to provide to our entire senior population in Brevard County. But actually, it'll be worldwide. It'll be a directory, a phone directory of services to call that can help seniors. and and it'd be in print that they're able to read, and they'll be able to find the service that they need. And you mentioned that by virtue of the fact that we have that pullout now in this
Mhm.
intersection, where have you gotten calls from for your type of service?
I have actually just in this last week, I had a couple that called me from Titusville because I had did the article last month on why you should choose a senior real estate specialist, and they had read the article, and I went up to their home, and then I also am helping another couple. Actually, they're a church member, and the church actually had called me because they didn't know where to turn, and so I was able to help them with some placement, an estate planner. I'll be listing the home. So all this weight that was basically handed all at once to someone when they didn't know where to turn, all of a sudden that weight can be lifted and they have options and they don't feel like, how do I help this person, but I don't know what to do.
This is one of the biggest challenges I've seen facing seniors over the year is knowing where to go to get the help that will let them make a decision that they will later feel comfortable with.
Hmm.
I remember years ago, a guy that was a very senior naval officer. In fact, he was in charge of all the naval nuclear reactors for the entire United States. And he said he and his wife made a decision to downsize, and it was the hardest thing they'd ever attempted to do, was to get rid of possessions that they'd had for years and years and years. But once they found they could do it, they felt a lot more comfortable.
It's the starting. You don't know where to begin. You start looking around, and it's an overwhelming task. And that's where you really start looking at your house, because what your house is, it's full of memories. That's exactly what everything is. So you need to look at, is this something I want to pass on? Is this something I want to bring with me? What is the memory with this?
But as a sneaky father, I would like to think, let those kids worry about moving that stuff, and like I've worried about it for 40, 50 years, and let them worry about what they're going to place it or hang it and all that stuff. But it's fun. I would imagine that with your background, and now, I didn't really understand. I read your article in the senior scene. I proofread it, but I didn't really understand exactly what you do. We have what we call these estate salespeople. Do you work with them too?
I absolutely do.
I shouldn't ask this, but which are the ones that I know them all. Which ones have you worked with?
I work with compassionate downsizing for seniors.
Okay.
And also caring transitions.
Caring transitions. Mm-hmm. How about Nancy Lewis at Southern? You worked with her?
With Solder?
Southern?
No, I have not worked with her yet.
Southern Trading. They usually have, if you look at this, the listing of the sales every weekend, Nancy usually has more pictures than anybody else. And as we drove by there this morning coming down here to Hibiscus Court to film, she's got all kind of stuff on the street over on Harbor City Boulevard in front of her office, or where she keeps this stuff. But it's fun. It's fun to do different things and to learn more about how we can help seniors is really important. Have you found, as a specialist and working with seniors, have you felt, or what do you enjoy more, or is there something you enjoy more that you can tell our viewing audience about the work that you do? Is it selling a house or helping somebody buy a house, or being able to help them see or visualize what can be done with what you're showing them?
I think right now I would say the transitional life sales are what I enjoy the most. And what I mean by that is usually when someone has maybe went to the hospital and they can't return home. It's time to sell, or maybe they've went to rehab and the plan originally was to get some rehab, get therapy, get stronger, and go home, and it's not going the direction they thought. So
Okay.
I enjoy working with those families because what I've found is, one, they have tremendous guilt because they can't care for their own loved one at their house, so they have that guilt. Then a lot of times these family members, they live out of state. So they've come and they have maybe a couple weeks to help mom or dad. They live out of state, and now all of a sudden they've kind of had all this thrown in their lap on top of, the trauma of what's ever happened to their
Right.
parent. And to be able to go and meet these people and show them things I know and give them choices and help them, you can just see the relief come out of their face. You can just see, like, okay, I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. And I think that's what I enjoy the most, because that's why I started the company, because I would see so many people, they didn't know where to start. They absolutely did not know where to start. And between the guilt, feeling overwhelmed with everything that just all of a sudden got kind of thrown in their lap, they don't know where to begin.
After you help a family transition, do you follow up? Do you sort of check on those people later on?
I've visited some people, absolutely. Yeah, because in the beginning, you just meet someone, but then they become your family. They absolutely become your family.
The reason I asked you that question is because many years ago I had a chaplain that was the executive officer on a submarine tender, and my lead chaplain was a Navy captain, and we called him the burying chaplain because he had been the senior chaplain at Arlington. And every family that man buried at Arlington for the whole time he was there for almost 3.5 years, if they were within a radius of 100 miles of the capital, he at some point paid a call on the family to see how they were doing. And that all came out of his own pocket, his own time. And that's a tremendous thing to say about involvement with older people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel really. You mentioned that one of the questions you wanted to talk about was how can this type of service is affordable,
Mm-hmm.
that you make it affordable, that you offer discounts, and when we talk about things discount, it's kind of a tough word to use, but I know that you're trying to say that in a nice way. What exactly do you mean by that? When it's trying to, there's so many different programs for 8 and 50.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean when you say you offer discounts? There's more to it than just a discount.
Oh, absolutely. When I work with my seniors and they're moving into a 55 plus community or assisted living, at closing, I'll take my commission at closing and I will give 25% of my commission back to them to use towards their closing costs. And it just helps offset some of the move and some of the other unexpected expenses that they've had.
And I asked you a question. Well, I asked Debbie a question before the show started. I said, knowing that you worked with seniors in an assisted living facility, and you're familiar with that type of that living, and comparing that to what you're doing now with selling and getting people in the right market, which do you prefer, and what did you say?
I prefer what I'm doing now. I feel like I'm making a greater impact because there are wonderful executive directors that run senior livings all over, but I think taking it to this step is what I really enjoy. I absolutely enjoy what I do.
How do families find out about what you're doing? I would imagine there are not very many that offer a service like you do anywhere. And
Correct.
I think I remember seeing a percentage of something like less than 2% of the realtors or something have this special qualification.
Yes, out of all the realtors that are in the U.S., there's less than 2% that are senior real estate specialists. So, I mean, it takes a commitment for the additional training. It takes a commitment to be your continuing education to keep up with the changes that happen in healthcare and understanding changes that are going on in the 55 plus communities. So, I mean, it's a commitment in itself.
Well, I think that one of the people that we'll tape today is a gentleman, Bill Johnson, and Bill is an elder law attorney, and there are so many things that rules that apply in the application of law, and the same thing goes in buying and selling of homes. I can remember there are certain types of insurances you should take that most people don't know What is that one? Is like, is it buyer's insurance, or is it, it's an insurance that,
There's the title insurance.
title insurance? And do you recommend everybody take that?
I think, I mean, for the price, it's worth its weight in gold.
What would happen if a person, or can you give me an example of, I hope I'm not asking an area you're not familiar with, but if you can you explain to our viewers why it's important to know about things like title insurance and some of the other little quirks that the average person that gets involved in trying to downsize doesn't know about?
Well, there's the title insurance that protects the property itself to make sure there's not liens that you're not aware of. But then there's also the title insurance for buyers, that making sure there could be things about the property that you weren't aware of, and that helps with that.
So if a person lived in a home 2 or 3 years and found something out, just because something happens, that doesn't mean that they should just try to go fix it themselves. They should use their head and go back to their realtor and say, hey, I had this problem.
They should contact the title insurance company, absolutely,
Right.
just to see, on their policy if that's covered.
Yeah, because now Florida Power and Light is coming out with this thing about insurance for $4 or $5. Like, they'll cover from the street to a point in your yard and up to your house. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with that. And then this.
What is that?
They cover, basically, they're covering your sewer from your house going out if something were to break. And then there's also a whole house surge protector that FPL also has, where it protects your whole house. And actually, I used it during Matthew. Actually, I had purchased it for myself, and the pole by our house, the transformer was hit, and it made the neutral come apart. So I had unregulated electricity coming to my house, and it blew out the dishwasher and the stove and the garage door opener and a whole bunch of things. And all I had to do was I gave them the receipts, and I got all my money back. It was a fantastic service for $10 a month.
So it's a good thing I took out.
Yes. Yeah. Good job, Joe.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. But see, I'll bet you that 75% of the people watching this show don't even know what we're talking about.
I would agree with that.
But it's always been my hope, Debbie, that people watching the shows we've done, that will trigger some kind of a thought process going for them and say, well, maybe I should ask about that, or maybe I should look into this. And we don't do it. And that's probably one of the things that I think so much about the provision of information and education. And just like this show, what we talk about, I ask you, why did you start a real estate company? What is a senior real estate specialist? How do you, well, one thing I didn't ask you about was, how do you choose the right realtor? How do you know you're getting the right realtor?
They need to be asking you questions. You really need to have that time. Because as you know, that's not one of the most important investments you're going to make, buying and selling a home.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be taken on lightly. You really need the realtor really needs to understand, what is your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And then find out if you're selling. Have they went through process as far as making sure that you understand that your house goes for the home you live in, so it becomes a product. And people start looking for homes online. So they're looking at their homes. They'll drive by, they're looking at curb appeal. They're looking at, a lot of times people can't visualize a home with a lot of personalized things. So it's good to depersonalize a home, declutter. All those things you want to do before the house gets listed. You don't want to start doing those things because, you're listed, but no one's really making you any offers, because now you've got an old listing after a while. You need to take it seriously, and in the beginning, clean and declutter. Do we need to do any minor repairs before the house sale? Do we need to do some curb appeal? Because those are all the things that are going to get someone from finding your house online to wanting to make the appointment to come into your house.
We just, my wife, I don't know if she read about it or saw it or someplace, but there was an article that said that we should try to remove as many things from the walls. And see, I always thought that if a person coming in to look at a house will see if it was nicely furnished, I always thought they might be able to picture that and say, this is how it would look with my things. But if they don't have the same type of things we do, while it may really look nice, it may mitigate against them not wanting to buy the house.
That's very true. They're not saying you should take all your furniture and all your pictures off the walls. That's not what they're saying. But simple things is if you collect certain things, or maybe you're a sports fan, maybe someone doesn't like that team. That may be that it's as simple as that, but they may not be interested just for something that simple.
Yeah. Or if you had
a lot of personal pictures, a lot of pictures of family and things, that's another thing you would think would be a positive, but it makes it harder for them to visualize that it's their home or their future home.
Okay, I can understand that. And I wanted to say this. The one thing, we have a minute left. What is a one-stop network of professional services that you offer clients? What is that?
Well, it starts before it goes listing. We have handyman services, landscape services. We also have the estate planning, people that can pack and move, coordinate movers. Then we talk about, like you did with Bill Johnson, do we need to look at how things are titled or how things you're going to purchase? So it goes through the whole thing before we even get to listing or buying.
Okay, our executive director is watching the show, so I know she's going to contact you about getting a listing of those people so we can see if they want to be in our new directory.
Fantastic. They should be. That's what we need, more information.
Debbie, I want to thank you for being on the show today, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And I think I understand a little bit more about what you do now, and I'll be better informed. But I hope our viewing audience is better informed too. Thank you.
I do too. Thank you so much.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we would welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.